Right on. So now we're recording this and we're live, which is awesome. So, technology. It's awesome. All right, today we're doing a really. It's. I would say it's probably one of the more difficult dry brush styles, and that's making fire, like flames, like active flames. So we're going to be painting identical pieces in our own way to make flames work. Chris is going to do his version. I'm going to do my version, and I'm actually going to be stealing some of this.
Okay.
Because that's kind of like my finisher
Right
there. Now, my method requires a little dry brushing. I don't know if yours does.
I use a lot more wet than dry.
Okay.
A little bit of finishing at the end with dry brushing, but not a lot.
Okay. I'm going to go first. And thank you to my good friend Tori for the Mountain Dew throwback using real sugar. Because now I get to be a legitimate fat kid.
Also, the executive producer is awake for this stream, so if I have to jump out of frame, it's apparent.
Or we're getting yelled at because milk isn't available. I'll just give him some Mountain Dew.
No, you're not.
I'm sitting there going, as a parent, that's a bad thing. And then I'm thinking, your wife will murder me. I'm in danger. Okay, and yes, I'm using a brush that has tape on it, and that's because that's one of the methods I use for holding on to smaller pieces so I can paint them. Because every now and again I'll put them on the end of a paintbrush and kind of paint that way. So I'm going to move the camera. So I love this little tripod. This little tripod's awesome. So the first thing I do, and it's kind of a kick in the teeth, I use Averland Sunset as kind of a base color. You can thin it out if you want to. It's not required. I like to do it simply because it kind of keeps everything in.
Gives it kind of a warm undertone.
Yeah. Now, if you look at everything, if you look at the piece, it's primed in Xandri dust. The reason I chose Xandri dust is Xandri dust gives this really cool texture that I really enjoy to all the stuff I paint. So, put a little contrast medium up, give it a little, whip around on the brush, and then I literally just start painting. The whole piece gets covered in Averland Sunset. Now, you don't have to do the whole piece in Averland Sunset, but it helps. I can't believe I had to call back that. I still love that video. You don't need a squirrel, but it helps. So I try to make sure that all the little nooks and crannies have a little bit of Averland Sunset in it. And that's like legit my start to making flames look like actual fire. It's not easy to get the flame look, but we'll get there and you'll see. So Mr. Chris is going to start.
Yep. So I actually do it a little bit differently. I'll base my different paint colors.
You got a palette.
I go.
Oh, you got. Oh, yeah, huh? we have got to be the cheapest painters in the world. Like, is the fact that, like, I've had questions from people. It's like, oh, what do you think of this, $30 palette?
I was like, oh,
Why?
I could spend $30 on paints.
Like, I literally have to think of myself, why would I want that? Like, I got everything I
Hillshire
need.
Farms makes a great palette.
They do. And, yeah.
Or, Great Value makes one as well.
Oh, I'm going to be making you a gift. I forgot to tell you that.
I'm intrigued and terrified.
I like the pads under me when I paint. And I have you know my other business venture with the silicone sculpting, all that. Well, I'm going to be getting a more flexible silicone for specialty molds, so that way they flex and they give, and I can still,
Right.
But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to design out a painting mat for us.
Nice.
So you and I will have matching painting mats out of
I like
silicone.
it. I dig it.
And they're washable. And it's
Awesome.
going to have a wet palette section.
Fancy.
So all you have to do is put a little water, put a little wax paper in
No
there.
more Hillshire Farm pallets for us.
Right?
So what
So
I'm
I'm going to
doing,
take us $60 in silicone.
So what I'm doing, I'm going to base the different colors as starting with white for the hottest section, and then as I get further out, cool it down with white to yellow to orange to red, as fire tends to work that way.
I
Not
think
all
you're
the
gonna.
time.
I think you're genuinely gonna hate the way I do it because it's such a cheap way to do it.
Dude. What did we just determine? What did we determine was the mission statement of the paint
Break
nerds?
the rules.
It's learn the rules so you can more effectively break them.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I'm going to follow the. So I was using Corax white for that first color,
You know what's funny? They call it white. It's
not.
actually a blue gray.
and when you look in the pot, it looks like a Bible story in there.
Oh, Bible story.
Somehow that
Put a drop or two of this.
turns into that.
Put a drop or two of this in there. It'll probably help it thin out a little bit.
Yeah, but this way I get a story out of it.
But do paints really have to tell a story until they're on a piece?
Everything tells a story.
No, not everything.
Sometimes whether you like it to or not. So I'm going to follow that up with a little bit of thinned out Averland Sunset.
Is it Averland or Averland?
I think it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, honestly.
Because, yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna.
I mean, it's your bottle of paint. You can call it Jim.
Always when I'm drinking.
Yep.
Always when I'm drinking, he has to come up with a good wisecrack. No, I sound like I have COVID.
And remember, I always like to channel the great 90s philosophers Beavis et al. When I paint flames, because fire is cool.
Let's put this back because every time you bring up your piece,
Oh, yeah.
it looks blurry as hell.
There we go. So I'm just kind of like stretching each time.
Did you say Beavis et al?
Beavis et al.
Beavis et al.
So every time I do a new color, I'm going to overlap the previous one a little bit, so it does have a little bit of blend in it.
You're gonna hear some weird noises. Just me with a hairdryer.
Mm-hmm. That's clearly all it is. Yes. So following that up, and these are all just the standard base paints. Not doing any washes or layers or anything special just yet. Following that up with some Jokero orange, however you want to pronounce it. And just kind of feathering that in. I'm not letting the paint dry, so it has a little bit of time to kind of mix and blend a little bit on the model itself. And I'm only using like a little bit of water in this. I just kind of like the way the water helps it kind of blend in a little bit. Alright. So you can kind of see how it's not like a stark transition between one color to the next. So lastly, I'm going to grab some Mephiston Red. Give it a shake. And I'm just using like barely like a drop on my brush.
Never mind. I found mine. Yes. One of the things I love to do, and I don't know about you, is like when I put my paint on my layer of paint on, I'll literally dry it with a hairdryer. Like literally, when I say I'm going to the hairdryer, I legit mean I'm going to the hairdryer.
And another benefit of kind of blending it in while it's still wet is that when the colors do connect magically, when you do it accidentally right, it kind of interacts in a really cool way. It doesn't really read well on the camera, but you can kind of see how the water mixes, and they'll retain their consistency and
It's
kind
not
of
translating on camera because you're pointing to the wrong end. If you turn it around, if you turn this to face the camera, it'll see it. There you go.
Hey,
There we go. Some wet blending.
yep. So the water and the pigment with different consistencies interact and kind of blend each other through. So it does some of the work for you.
Yeah, I love the fact that you do wet blending, because that's something I can't do to save my life. Like, I hate dry brushing and I hate wet blending. I genuinely do.
Literally, so I'll show one of my pride and joys. My Ghost Rider was all using that technique. I blended a lot of it on the palette itself, and then just scooped up the colors as they were interacting and threw them at the model.
I hate you already.
I will never be able to replicate this. I know that. I have accepted it. This will live on my desk. I don't even play the damn game.
That's what you sold your soul for?
Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know.
It wasn't the powers to paint it. It was just to paint one.
To just paint one.
Just paint the one Johnny Blaze.
That's got to be like the worst possible sold your soul story ever. It's like, I didn't do it to be able to paint anything, just this one
Just this
thing.
one thing.
I mean, that's some short-sightedness, really, on your part.
It really is.
All
right. Ready?
Oh, it's my turn?
Yes, it is your turn.
Yay, my turn. Because people really want to see my half-assed attempt at fire. I mean, honestly, this is what it's
Don't
going to...
use half your ass, use your full ass.
At least go for 3/4 of an ass.
I mean, that's pretty much where I'm going to be going. So, okay, so the next run for me is I'm going to use... okay, since you can't read it, it's Troll Slayer Orange. Now, this is where stuff starts getting a little weird, because I'm going to need a sheet of paper. I'm going to take my paper and fold it in half. This is going to be my dry brush palette. This is where we get to the fun part of dry brushing, the one thing I suck at and hate. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use Evil Sun Scarlet first. I'm going to do my orange second. Because I hate you. It's like, you know, for two people who get along so well, we throw the word hate and dislike.
We really do.
Yeah, we genuinely don't hate each other. So, I'm going to put this over here for a minute. That's not going to stay. So, the way I start my dry brushing is I literally create a little angle like that, and then I just brush until I get about that.
Just looking at how much paint you're just putting from the pot directly onto a paper that will never get used. I'm
Right?
like, oh, God. It's
Well-
so much money.
And then you just dry brush. Remember how I told you that your dry brushing is great, but make sure you're going against the raised edges?
Mm-hmm.
And this is predominantly why. Because if I were to take my dry brush and try going this way, I would just fill this in with paint. It wouldn't actually dry brush anything.
Right.
You're just painting at that point. So you always make sure that the orientation of the brush is against the raised edges. So that way I'm always against the raised edges, and I can even go so far as to kind of put it down on a flat surface so I'm not bouncing on my hand, and just gently go across all the raised edges, get all those little, and that's the start of my reds right there. And then I literally just take a little bit of paint, do the same thing again, and I do it on this side. I literally just go across the raised edges gently, or as gently as my big fat hand can do it, because I am notoriously not gentle with my brushes. And it's okay if you get a lot on here because we're going to be going over it with a bunch of different colors. So there we go. Another start for a different type of flame. You don't have to get all crazy with it. You don't have to sit there and, I got all this in there, and it's fine. It's fine the way it is. Like, I'll sit there and try to dust the inside of the flame as well. See? All right.
Nice.
And legit, that is my part too. So as you can see, once again, we've kind of proven the point that, Chris and I have a multitude of different ways of doing things that, God, we got a
Camera work.
Yeah, that camera. You know what? We'll just go like this
Yeah,
again.
put it back up there.
We'll go like this because that seems to work best for us. Kind of, maybe, I guess, somewhere. We have multiple.
actually works.
We actually have different ways of doing things. His wet blending is actually on point,
Thank you.
and as much as I say I hate dry brushing, that's kind of my preferred, really, because like I said, I'm really heavy-handed. And with wet blending and dry brushing, you can't be heavy-handed. So I found that dry brushing is actually a little more lenient to heavy-handed painters than wet blending.
I'm still learning lingo, so I couldn't tell you either way, honestly.
What part of that was difficult?
Words are hard, man.
No, they're. Don't say the executive producer's right there. You're giving him excuses. That's not fair.
So,
Casandora yellow already,
yeah.
while everything's still kind of wet.
The yellow is actually pretty dry, and I'm not going all the way in.
Oh.
So, I've gotten as far away.
Now it's far away. We're having issues.
Still a learning curve here. So,
You can actually turn that so it's comfortable for
there you go. So I'm going to start with the Casandor Yellow shade. Still leaving a little bit of white exposed at the very tip because that would be the hottest point of the piece.
Which would be a blue.
Yeah, but we're going with warm colors today. And I didn't pack any
I
blues.
think the executive producer turned off his movie.
Yeah, he sure did. And I'm just bringing this up a little bit into the orange, maybe about halfway. And it'll help really blend everything together. Because that'll also make, the orange is still a little bit wet, so it'll help bring some of that orange back into the yellow, make it interact a little bit more. Kind of wet blend it a bit.
See, that's really awesome.
Thank you.
That's a great way to do that. Wow, so I guess it's round 3 for me.
Yeah, I need a little bit longer for my red to dry out a bit.
Well, that's the best part about dry brushing is my dry brush stuff is pretty much already dry. It's not very tacky and it doesn't smear. So dry brushing actually provides that little benefit. And by little benefit, I mean it's a little benefit. Now, this is going to be, I'm going to be adding my Troll Slayer Orange, which, odd choice, I know. Weird flex, right? And again, we're going to be dry brushing, so. But this one, I'm actually going to be taking a lot more paint off than I did with the red. So I want it to be like right here where you can just see it and it just scrapes on. And then I'm going to, once again, just gently go over all the raised edges. I'm not trying to cover up the red. I'm just trying to add a little bit of orange to kind of give that sense of heat, that sense of flame moving. And we do the same thing over here. And if I run out of paint, I just add a little more. And then just hit that dry brush, man. get that dry brush going. And voila. We got some orange on there. You see the differences in the color. You see the changes in the oh, my face. But you see the changes in the coloring. You see the changes in temperature. So keep it away from the ring light. Good plan. So you see, when this thing looks like it's moving, like when it's doing the whole woo, no matter where you look at it, at some point you've got both those colors in. So check that out.
Nice.
Like I said, you're not trying to overpower the
Right.
red. You're just kind of augmenting it a little bit. Now back to oh wait, is it dry enough for you to keep going, or because it's?
I'm starting from that side.
You do realize I have an entire
Yeah, no, I'm going to use that after this.
I have an entire whole thing for
I'm
Drying
going to be
paint.
using your hair dryer after this step.
Yeah, I always think it's funny because I don't have a whole lot of hair to necessitate an entire dryer, and I go and I get like hair dryers from. I don't think I've ever bought a hair dryer for paint
I haven't.
brand new.
So-
I literally go to like Goodwill or whatever thrift store happens to be. Like my wife and I will be drive by a thrift store. Oh, let's go in there. Why? Gotta see if they have stuff for paint.
Right.
It's I'm stupid.
So, next step for me, I got Carroburg Crimson Shade. This time going backwards along the red parts to kind of dampen it a little bit and blend it into the orange. Basically what we did with the Cassandora Yellow, just from the other side. So they'll meet a little bit in the middle and interact some.
I love how you're getting all your colors to play together.
Yeah.
Sign of a true good man right there.
You can see now it's blending in a little bit better, not quite a stark change between different colors.
That's actually nice. I like that. I like that flow between. That's kind of cool. I'll never be able to pull that off, but somebody out there watching this will.
Probably do it better than me, and I'm fine with that.
Well,
Let the students become the master.
that's kind of the goal.
It really is.
We want the students to become the master, so we don't have to do it anymore.
Exactly. And I can pay somebody $6 to paint throw some paint on them.
Our kids, like my daughter loves to paint. My oldest, she'll sit there and like, hey, can I get a thing to paint? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I'll literally prime her an entire miniature. And I'm giving us some dry paint time here. So I'll literally like prime a whole mini for her and everything, and she does a great job of waiting. She's very patient, and I love her for that. Like normally for a kid who has zero patience, okay, she's just like me. She has crap for patience. She's infinite understanding, has crap for patience. I find it adorable that she'll wait for primer to drop,
That's awesome.
and she knows when I'm stalling. She knows. I said, "Oh, the primer's." She goes, "Well, get your hair dryer."
Nice.
So I mean, she knows. She knows. He has a hair dryer. He can make it go faster, and so she knows when I'm not being 100%
Right.
with her. But when she paints, I love the fact that she'll watch what I do, and she'll start getting in there, paint down, get the colors on there. She doesn't understand that there are different brushes that perform different tasks. And she'll see me with, doing dry brush with this. She'll grab this brush and be all, and she's not doing any of the dry brush stuff. She literally just charges her whole brush and just goes totally bananas over.
And one time she's going to do it and it's going to look awesome.
Oh, everyone she does looks
Yeah.
awesome.
You're not
Because
biased though.
No, I look at it as my daughter is making abstract
Right.
miniatures. Okay, their camouflage is specific to a specific area of space.
Yeah.
They won't be able to hide anywhere else but there, but they do a damn good job where
Right.
they're at. And that's the thing, parents. I cannot stress this enough, and I know Chris will probably agree with me. Is if your kid is painting, and they're literally trying to learn techniques, and they're not getting it 100%, encourage them.
Yeah.
Don't discourage them like, oh well, it doesn't look anything like that. Well, of course not. The kid's 9. You
Like,
you bottom.
I have enough hand-eye coordination issues, let alone a 5-year-old.
And here's the thing is, parents, you went and bought them the big watercolor palette paints, and you bought them the brushes that do watercolor, and you bought them age specific. Don't expect a kid trying to do what we do without the tools and succeed. And even if you did get them the tools and they don't succeed, give them stuff to practice on. They'll figure it out. Kids are smart that way.
It's like playing an instrument. You're going to suck for a minute, but then you're going to get real good.
Oh no, I just always sucked. I cannot play an instrument to save my life.
It's like doing other things. You're going to suck for. It's like playing sports, like playing the sports ball. You're going to suck at
Sports
first,
ball. Yes. Sports ball is hard.
and one day you're going to do well.
Yep, you're gonna know how to do all the plays. You're gonna know how to throw the ball. You're
You
gonna know how to
understand what
hit
the
people.
X's and the arrows mean on the coach's thing.
Yeah, you score score a bass down on a touch field goal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
God, we are such nerds.
You won't think hockey's just a bunch of kids trying to shoot a rubber puck into a goal with a stick.
Hey, I actually went to a really cool fight, and then a hockey game broke out.
Really?
Yeah, just telling you,
Go
man.
figure. That's getting your money's worth.
It is. Dinner and a show. But yeah, keep encouraging your kids. I mean, like seriously, and mini painters out there, don't be scared to hand your kid a mini and have him mess it up. Don't. I watch a lot of kids. Yeah, I've actually seen mini painters with their kids, and it's either 50-50. It's like, oh yeah, mess it up. Oh, that looks so
Yeah.
cool. Like these kids are just like taking the whole thing of paint and and you see
My response for that is just because he grabbed like a really expensive bottle of paint. It's like, I'm like, oh god, no.
but the parents that are going, oh yeah, it looks awesome. It's great. It's gonna fill in the cracks and everything. And then you see other parents going, no, that's not how you do that. I'm like, no, that's not how you do that.
Right.
That's how they're
he did-
doing it.
That's how he do it.
So just keep in mind that not everybody paints the same. Like you are literally witnessing one paint style and another. I mean, he's doing wet blending, I'm doing dry brushing. The effects are no less better than the other. It's just a different way of acquiring the desired, what the hell did I get in my eye? Like I blinked twice and it felt like somebody stabbed me with a piece of glass. That was awesome.
All of my witnesses, I didn't do it.
Yeah, you probably pulled a dash and just like.
Probably.
But you're
Coincidence? I think not.
coincidence? I think not. But yeah, you're witnessing two different paint styles, and that's because we both watch different videos, sometimes the same video. I've tried wet blending and I suck at it. I can't get it down. I'm too heavy-handed. I have big fat hands with zero control, and he's got these dainty little
Piano player hands.
and he's got all this dexterity that I just don't have. So, I mean, if you're a first-time painter and I don't care, painting a ceiling tile, it's going to be the same way. You're not gonna just pick up a brush and be Picasso. It takes time. It takes practice. It takes resilience. It takes that want to actually do it. So
here's where I start incorporating Chaz's techniques.
Ruh-roh, you're incorporating my techniques. That's dangerous.
Yes, gonna start doing dry brushing.
Your wife's gonna hate you.
So I'm starting off with the lightest shades and kind of moving towards the darker ones. So just barely.
That actually worked out a lot better than I thought it would.
Dusting. What's up, buddy? So taking some flash kits and just very, very lightly touching it.
All right. And for my part, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take my Cassandora yellow and actually let me give it a good shake. Shake, 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 shake the body. I don't even know the girl's name.
Sonora?
Is he saying Sonora or Senora?
I think he's supposed to be saying Senora, but they've white peopled it a lot.
They white people.
Even though Harry Belafonte was not a white people, he had to sell it to white people.
Fair enough. All right, now if you notice with my Cassandora yellow, like the orange and the red actually took kind of a cool turn, and it kind of did the wet blending for me without having to do a whole lot of extra work. So now we just let that dry.
So
Come on, like,
back to me, I'm going to do kind of a speed round.
and if you hear weird noises, it's just me on the hair dryer.
So next one I have is Uriel yellow.
Uriel yellow.
Typically in traditional mini painting, you do a little bit of a darker shade first when you layer, and then you edge with a lighter one. This is kind of going the opposite direction. We're going with the lighter ones first because those would be the hotter colors, and blending it into the cooler colors on the spectrum. So once again, just barely going over it. Gonna clean off the brush. Next up, I've got 3 red tones. Wild Rider Red is gonna be my first one. I do not have any orange layer paints at the moment, but that's okay because we don't need them. And I'm just trying to get as much off onto the palette as I can before I start in. So just barely tipping into it. Getting a few dabs on like the little outcroppings of the flame. And that's that. Focus.
For a minute, I thought you were talking to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's what happens with the Cassandora yellow.
Nice. So, following up with some Evil Sun Scarlet.
And I know you can't see our faces, but we usually save this one for the back end of the video. But I really want to thank the Save Point Tabletop Gaming and More, Marrero. Chris, once again, with the save. You know, it's raining and it was raining pretty bad, and getting here was kind of horrible. But thanks to them for letting us use their internet and play around with the paints. And I can't thank Troll Tooth Productions, Justin and Jennifer out there. Just them being them, and constantly upvoting our channel and constantly being there and the support, and basically sponsoring videos through the camera we're using, even though we're probably using it very poorly.
Oh, I guarantee we are. As evidenced by our videos.
Right. So got to thank them, and to all you new, and a special shout out to all of you new painters checking out our channel. All of you, new, mini hobbyists, and I also want to thank a couple people that, this is going to be a weird flex, but Raul Cooley, an actor, huge mini painter.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He does a lot of Star Wars,
Okay.
and I love his stuff. His stuff is amazing. Even Henry Cavill.
Oh yeah, Henry Cavill. He's the reason Witcher production took forever, because he would
He
take.
played the game. The way he does it, if you
did
look
so
at
many
every
side
interview.
quests.
Yeah, right. Well, no, if you look at every interview, he says the same thing. He goes, "Oh, I'm a huge gamer," and I played the Witcher games before I read the books, and then the production started, and I had to be all over it. I was like, weird flex, but okay.
And then lastly, for the very tips, I'm gonna go with just a touch of Abaddon or Abaddon Black, however you want to pronounce it, to look kind of like a little bit of ash coming off of it.
If you want a piece of paper, I can. Yeah.
Just barely, just throwing, almost like just putting some soot into it. And knowing when to stop is probably the most important thing. So there we
Nice.
go.
That was pretty dope. I like the way you did that.
Thank you. Got one last trick up my sleeve, but I'll let you take a turn.
All right. Now, the next trick I do is I take Flash Gets Yellow. I think Chris already used his.
I did.
Cheater. The executive producer's checking the paints because
He loves
he's checking
organizing my paints.
He's checking for doping of your paints. Is what he's doing. He thinks you have performance enhancers in your paint.
Here, you want to just want to set them down here?
So I take the Flash Gets Yellow, and then what I do, oddly enough, is I pick out specific raised edges and flares, and I highlight them with the Flash Gets. So I'll pick out this piece, and while I'm picking out, pieces, anybody you got a special shout out for?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Oh wow, you're not even gonna thank our wives for putting
No,
up
I
with
guess
our
we should
crap?
thank our wives for, dealing with our constant bullshittery.
What takes so long?
What's this chart? Games Workshop? Who's that?
Wait, did you buy a Games Workshop? Yes, dear. I bought the whole workshop.
We're now in debt for the next several generations.
I swear, if I ever did that, my wife would probably murder me. Like, there would be no me. It's like, So-
You wouldn't even fit in a matchbox.
nope, they wouldn't find me. She'd just, put a bunch of marshmallows around my neck and, feed me to an alligator. Oddly enough, alligators love marshmallows.
Yes, they do.
I learned about that like last year.
Marshmallows are like one of the best high reward training treats that I've found
Really?
for carnivores.
Well, it works on me. So. See, all you're really doing on this is you're just picking out these little high raise edges. Like, you're not even doing anything super special. You're just kind of...
See, and that's the stuff, that right there, I hate. That is what I cannot do.
What?
As much as you talk about my fine point dexterity, it is so hard for me to paint that, like just the super detail little lines like that.
Oh, all it is just reducing how much pressure you put and just swiping.
I always put more. I always put too much.
So yeah, I pick out all my little raised edges, the little edges that need to be highlighted to kind of give that dimension into the piece, and then I just let that dry.
All right. So, last thing that I like to do is it's really it's good. It's got a good blend to it.
It's got a great blend.
Thank you. I think it lacks a little bit of cohesion, and I want to throw a little bit of magic-ness on the fire. So
Okay, if you're doing that,
I've got
I'm gonna show
Bloodletter.
another way to use that.
Bloodletter glaze, which unfortunately is no longer in production. So if you can find a bottle, go for it.
Good luck. You know, there's probably some guy who's got like 5 bottles of this stuff, and he's on like eBay.
Oh yeah. So I've got a little bit on my brush. I'm gonna start with the tip and just use that to kind of offset, almost like a wash. That way you'll kind of get what Chaz was doing with the yellow line work, and it'll kind of just set in.
Since they've seen you do your dark, I'm gonna add my black to mine.
You don't have to get
No,
peer
I
pressure.
have to. It's just one extra layer of, Banff. You know, the longest time I didn't know what Banff meant. Like, here I am, this
You're thinking about Emerald and not Nightcrawler?
Oh no, I was thinking about Nightcrawler, not Emerald. Dude, you are the Louisiana boy, not me.
He's faux Louisiana.
I'm not even faux Louisiana. I'm
I'm talking about Emerald. Dude's from Massachusetts.
He's from the massive two shits.
Yeah.
I bet his parents are so proud.
More like Taxachusetts.
Tax chief.
And that's me. So that's all I'm going to be doing. I feel like anything more on that, and I'm going to
Overdo it.
definitely overdo it. That is such a huge thing to know, is when to walk away.
You gotta know when to fold 'em, know when to hold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. Now, is it always count your money or never count your money while you're sitting at the table? Come on, you know this.
I would say never count your money while you're sitting.
That
at the
is the
table.
lyric. Never count your
Well,
money while
I
sitting
was-
at the table.
Wondering what you should be doing.
Okay, now I'm actually going to be using the same glaze, but I'm going to be doing it in a different way. A lot of times when you use a glaze, the thing that comes up that I always find interesting is people put glazes on like wash. And
Which is what I basically did.
well, yeah, and that's perfectly fine. It doesn't really hurt anything. But the way I like to do it, and it gets weird, is what I'll do is I'll actually just drop it into a spot. And then, because I'm an idiot, and I had to use more than I needed, I'll literally just, like, all the little spots that have hollows, I'll just kind of tap it in, let it flow kind of naturally. I don't take a whole lot of glaze. I try not to take a whole lot of glaze all at once, simply because that tends to ruin the aesthetic and the effect. And then I'll flip this over and do the same thing. I'll just try to get into those little recesses that, didn't make sense the first time. Just kind of punch it in with a little tiny brush. Because these are objects in motion, and the hardest part with an object in motion is trying to convey that motion. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, is I'm trying to convey the motion with this glaze. And that's what I get.
Nice.
So it looks like it. So that was making fire,
Because fire is cool.
because fire is cool.
And also notice, whenever we were painting, we were following the direction of the flame. So always starting from the base, moving away from it, just so any visible brushstrokes would follow with the momentum of the piece.
Yep. So, thanks you guys, everybody, for tuning in and shaping up and crossing over John Edwards and
Breaking through.
Breaking Bad. And God, it's been a long road.
Nope. We don't acknowledge that one. It's not classical music, it's not Star Trek.
So did we boldly go?
We did. We boldly go when
We boldly went where
rode
everybody else has gone
lots
before.
of people have been before.
We're just walking in a trough right now. Just
Oh, we're done.
we're done.
It's been a
Guys, thank you thank you for all of the videos that you've watched, all the time that you've spent with us, and hopefully we've made you laugh, and hopefully you've learned.
hopefully
a few
it was
things.
intentional that we
Yeah.
made you laugh.
I highly doubt that.
Yeah, probably like, what are they doing with those brushes?
Well, you didn't hear weird animal noises, so obviously nothing too bad. Thanks, and see you next time.